I want you to pretend for a minute that I'm a programmer. Well, no, I'm not just a programmer. I'm a developer. I've got an idea for a new kind of web application that everybody's going to go crazy over. It's the next Dropbox. It's the next Gmail. I don't know, but I love this thing. Now, keep in mind that I'm a programmer, okay? And that's what I do. I write programs, and I've got this dream. But for me as a programmer, to go through the process of setting this up, I'd have to be setting up servers, and I'd have to have lots of administrators to protect all my systems and people running backups, and then I would need people grabbing stuff for me, helping my development, and it's a big deal for somebody like me to get my dream out there. Wouldn't it be cool if we could create a magic little world where me as a programmer, all I see is a platform, basically a screen that allows me to write my code, and not only write my code, but have access to big software libraries that I'll need to help write my code, that will help keep track of my development for me. And then when I got it and I want to see how it works, all I kind of do is press a button and say deploy, and it magically appears on a server that's completely configured and ready to go. And all I have to do is type in www.checkoutmycoolsite.com and see how it's doing. Sounds fun? Well, that, my friends, is platform as a service. Platform as a service, there'll usually be some infrastructure as a service aspect to it, but that doesn't mean anything to me as a programmer. I don't care about what the internal LAN IP address is for a server. I don't even care if I have servers or how many or what kind of RAM they have. I don't care what kind of operating system's running on my machines. I don't really care what's on the firewall. That's all another world, and I don't want to deal with all that. And that's what Platform as a Service is all about. A cozy little cuddly world where developers can create amazing web applications. Okay, more than web applications, but that's the best way to think about this stuff. And they can make these web applications and press a button, it all goes and everything's taken care of for them, and they all live happily ever after. To appreciate Platform as a Service, I need to show you. Let's take a look at one of the more popular ones, Heroku. All right, now this is the Heroku dashboard, and it's a little bit boring to look at right now. Right now I have one application that's up there. I don't want to mess with that. That one's actually working for a living. But what I do have is here on my computer, here I've got this application. Now this is a little teeny tiny JavaScript application, and the only thing it does is puts the word hello world up on the screen. But this could be a complete application. This could be Reddit, for example. So if you're familiar with the Reddit website, so I can do any kind of code that I want. And what I'm going to do in one shot is using Heroku, I'm going to take my code, I'm going to upload it to Heroku, it's going to get everything configured, it's going to bring along libraries, it's going to check my code, it's going to start anything up that needs to be started, and it's actually going to give it a real URL so it can post up, and we can check it out, and we can deploy this thing pretty much in the press of one button. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's my code, and there's nothing too terribly exciting about my code. All it's going to do is say hello world, but just so you know, if we look in Explorer, here you can see it's on my desktop under a folder called node-js-sample. So you can see there's files and there's folders, and we need all this to run JavaScript. So let me go ahead and close that, and I'll minimize this guy. And what we're going to do is bring it up. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new app, and we'll call it Fred. Now, what's interesting here, oops, somebody already used Fred. So I can go ahead and do it graphically, but what's really interesting about Heroku is that most of this stuff is actually done from a command prompt. So if you want to use Heroku, well, you could bring it in from Dropbox or anything else, but all the hip kids will actually install a Heroku toolkit which will add command line utilities to let them do all the work. So in order for me to make this happen, I need to open up a command prompt and run a few commands. All right, so here I am, and if you remember, this is desktop, and that's the folder name. So first thing I'm going to do is create the app. Okay, now look really close. It has created the application, which is really just basically made a container for it up on Heroku, but it already tells me now what the URL is going to be for the site. And this other one is used for something called a Git, which we can use to load stuff up, and I'm actually going to use that now. No typos. So I'm going to use this git command, and this is actually going to send all my files up. It's going to send my files up. It's going to create the website and get everything started. Okay. Now, if I've done everything right, I now have, with a couple of commands, have actually set up a complete website that runs my code. So what I'm going to do now is, of course, Heroku has another command line that'll allow me to actually open up a browser and check out my new web app. Ta-da! There it is, hello world. Notice, first of all, that I've got an actual URL. It's under herokuapp.com, so they can make all these that they want. But I'm legitimately up on the internet, and I can test this out, do whatever I need to do. There are people who use this as an ongoing basis. As I bring in new versions, it takes care of everything for me. And that's the power of what Platform as a Service does for me. I don't really care much about servers or anything like that. Now, let's say the website's running a little slow. Heroku lets me take care of that too. Okay, so here's the app that I created. Let me go ahead and click on this. So let's say I want to build up a SQL server, because I need a SQL server. In the old days, I would have to actually get a SQL server, install it, get it up and running. With Heroku, I can just put in these add-ons, and there's zillions of add-ons for all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Did I miss it? So I'm a big fan of Postgre, so I can actually just click on this if I want to, and I've loaded myself in a complete SQL server just by going click. But we don't need any add-ons for this simple app. Now, the other thing that's interesting here are what they call dynos. See, programmers don't care about, gee, do we have enough web servers to do whatever we're going to do? Well, I'm sure they care, but only so far as they make sure that their application is running well. So let's say I deploy this and I got it up and running and it seems sluggish. Well, it's no big deal with Heroku. All I need to do is add more dynos. Now they cost more money as you add more, but I add more dynos until my application's running well. And it's pretty trivial stuff. The beauty of Platform as a Service is that everything is obfuscated. As a programmer, I don't even see the servers. I don't see anything that I don't want to see other than my beautiful code running beautifully in its own little URL.